Welcome to the book of Philemon. Now, like Titus and 1st and 2nd Timothy, this letter is written primarily to an individual and not to an entire church congregation. And that individual, as you guessed it, is named Philemon. And he is a wealthy believer, and he's the leader of a little Jesus community that meets in his home. And while the letter is written to Philemon, it is written primarily about a guy named Onesimus. Now, Onesimus is Philemon's slave, and it appears as if maybe he stole something from Philemon, and then he ran away. So Onesimus is a runaway slave. Now, if you wanted to disappear in the first century, disappear in a crowd, where would you go? Well, you'd go to Rome. So that's where Onesimus heads, and somehow, by the sovereignty of God, Onesimus is going to meet Paul in Rome. Paul's in prison in Rome at the time, and we don't know how this happened. Maybe Onesimus is arrested for petty theft or something, and they become cellmates, or maybe Onesimus seeks out Paul to act as a mediator between him and his master. We don't really know, but regardless, after this meeting, Paul is going to take an interest in Onesimus, and he's going to lead him to the Lord. It's beautiful. Paul will call him my child Onesimus, whose father I became in my imprisonment. And right after Onesimus becomes a believer, he's going to start to serve Paul while Paul is in prison. But Paul knows he has to send Onesimus back to Philemon. He can't harbor a runaway slave, and plus he wants to facilitate the reconciliation of slave and master. And so Paul is going to send Onesimus back to Colossae. And that's how this little letter ties into the larger story of Paul's network of house churches in the Mediterranean. So Philemon is from the city of Colossae. And this letter is among the prison epistles. Those 4 letters that Paul writes from his first Roman imprisonment: Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. Well, at about the same time all of this is going down, a guy named Epaphras is going to show up in Rome, and he's going to tell Paul all about the false teachers there in Colossae. And his little report is going to spark the writing of the letter of Colossians. And then Paul's like, well, now I might as well write Philemon, because he lives right outside of Colossae, and let me compose Ephesians as well, because it's just right down the road from that city. And we know this because the closing greetings in these letters have the same names in them, so they kind of tie them all together. So Paul is going to work feverishly on these 3 letters, and he's going to send them via a letter carrier named Tychicus, and Tychicus will be accompanied by Onesimus. But this particular letter of those 3 is certainly a delicate one. Now, we know that Paul is a master theologian, but can he write with discretion and subtlety and tact as well? Well, we'll see how Paul does both of these things as we walk through his shortest letter next.